Hey, it's Ron, and I want to tell you a story about business and how that story changed everything. It's last night, the night before the Rose Bowl, which is going to get played on January 1st, 2026. And a certain college athlete can't sleep. He's a defensive tackle, 6'4", 280, and every muscle in his body hums like a live wire. Down the hall, a teammate's TV mumbles through a highlight reel. Outside, Pasadena's quiet except for the sound of generators and distant traffic. The athlete's supposed to be resting, but his mind just won't quit. He thinks about the scouts, the cameras, the sponsorship money waiting if he plays right. He thinks about the noise, the hits, the smell of turf and fireworks. He thinks about everything except the thing this game was built on, flowers. Somewhere out there, outside his window, floats are parked on side streets. Crews are sleeping in vans. Flower petals sprayed and perfect. The athlete doesn't care about that part. To him, the parade is just the traffic jam before kickoff. He has no idea that those two things, the flowers and the football, were never really meant to go together, and that more than a century ago, one small California parade stitched them into the same story. A story that would turn pageantry, sport, and business into one unstoppable tradition. But how did a quiet little parade built on roses end up shaping one of the biggest stages in American sports? Why did two traditions that were never really meant to meet become a single engine of money, spectacle, and national attention? And on the night before January 1st, 2026, how is that football player struggling to fall asleep stepping into a game that owes its entire existence to a century-old decision about flowers? From Business Basics, I'm Ron Trucks, and this is Business History, the daily podcast where we explain the stories that changed business forever. Throughout history, every date of the year has a story where business reshaped the world. Today, January 1st, that story takes us to 1902, when Pasadena threw a parade and business joined the march. Long before television cameras and sponsorship logos, Pasadena's Tournament of Roses parade was just a local showcase, a small-town effort to convince the rest of the country that California wasn't dust and desert. In the winter of 1902, that meant carriages covered in flowers, marching bands, and a few hundred residents tossing petals down Colorado Boulevard. But the city's business leaders wanted more. They wanted attention. They wanted tourists. So they decided to borrow something noisy enough to draw a crowd. Football. The Tournament East-West game was their first attempt. A single matchup between Stanford and Michigan played on a makeshift field near the parade route. No one called it a bowl yet. It wasn't even an annual tradition. It was a civic experiment, a way to cap off the festival with something rough enough to balance the roses. Newspapers from San Francisco to Chicago covered it. The crowds came, and though Michigan crushed Stanford 49-0, Pasadena had proven its point. If you mix pageantry with competition, you don't just get entertainment, you get attention. And attention drives business. By the next year, the parade had doubled in size, and the men behind it realized they had built something more than a local party. They were starting to build a brand. As the years rolled on, Pasadena's annual spectacle evolved from community event to national stage. The East-West game became the Rose Bowl, played in a stadium built specifically to hold the crowds and the cameras that would come decades later. The business side grew just as fast. Hotels filled up. Railroads ran special trains. Newspapers printed souvenir sections. Sponsors began attaching their names to floats and festivities. The line between civic pride and commercial promotion blurred until no one could really tell where one stopped and the other began. By mid-century, the parade had become a television staple, a bright, floral warm-up to the afternoon's football broadcast. advertisers discovered the magic of the New Year's captive audience. Millions of people sitting in living rooms, probably nursing hangovers, watching floats roll by before kickoff. The Rose Parade had done what no marketing department could plan. It turned tradition into product placement, and the Rose Bowl followed suit, becoming not just a football game, but a revenue machine. What started as Pasadena's winter postcard had become one of America's most successful exports, the idea that spectacle itself could sell.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
A century later, the business of the Rose Parade and the Rose Bowl are inseparable. Two halves of a brand that outlived its founders, its boosters, and probably even its purpose. The floats are now engineered by creative agencies. The flowers sourced globally. The broadcast rights worth millions. Marching bands travel thousands of miles for 10 seconds of airtime. Every camera angle, every logo, every pedal is planned. And through it all, the same idea that drove Pasadena's Civic Club still drives the spectacle today. If you can hold the world's attention on New Year's morning, you can sell just about anything. In 1902, those businessmen just wanted to show off the weather. By 2026, they'd created one of the longest-running marketing events in the world. So when that football player stretches in a locker room that smells of turf and adrenaline, those floats still roll outside, covered in flowers, yes, but also carrying sponsors, streaming deals, and hashtags. He may not think about any of that when the whistle blows, but he's standing on the same field that business built. I'm Ron Trucks, and this is Business History, the podcast that finds the turning points behind the headlines. To hear more stories like this, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. And if you're enjoying the stories, please don't forget to subscribe and maybe leave a quick review. It helps more people find the story behind the business. And do you want to actually understand business without the fluff, the buzzwords, or the MBA language? Start by visiting us at businessdailypodcasts.com.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/Wondery.